Hey, I'm your host, Mari Wagner, and you're listening to the Ever Be podcast, where faith meets lifestyle. I'm so excited you're here. Whether you're a new listener or a longtime follower, I know there's something here for you. Pull up a chair and listen in for insightful, real-life conversations and actionable steps on how to claim the full life God created you for. If you're a woman desiring to live a Christ-centered life in today's modern world, then this is for you. Welcome to Ever Be. Welcome back, everybody. We have a live Ever Be recording with a very special guest today. And by live, I mean like I am live in person with my dear friend, Alli. We are not recording this and putting this out live, unfortunately, but it's going to be a great conversation. I have Alli on the podcast today. She's a dear friend. She happens to be my neighbor. I'll let her introduce herself as well, but we are going to be chatting about how to support friends, family members, basically just women in your life who are suffering with the cross of infertility or pregnancy loss in this season, and just women that are struggling on their motherhood journey, struggling to get there. It's a very heavy cross and something that I've opened up on my Instagram a little bit. And I've gotten a lot of requests lately of people asking. I have friends in my life who are going through this. Like, what do I say? How do I support them? How do I make them feel loved? And I think with Mother's Day just recently passing, I had a few people in my life who were just so loving and supportive that I just felt like, I want to share this with people. I want people to know like how to support women. So I brought Alli on the podcast today. Alli, welcome.
Thanks, Mara.
Do you want to introduce a little bit about who you are, maybe how we know each other, and what you do in your day-to-day life, just so people can get to know you a little bit?
That sounds great. Like Mari said, my name's Alli, and I traveled a super long ways to be here, just across the street. We're neighbors. We've been neighbors for like a year now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like what do I do the day to day? I'm a focused parish missionary, so I actually work at Mari's parish. But we met because we moved into the house across the street from them, and we're super excited when we found out that there were other focused missionaries former focused missionaries who lived across the street. So one of our good friends introduced us to each other.
Yes. Yeah. We had a mutual friend who. His name is Zach Fiedler.
Yes. Shout
great
out to Zach.
Catholic photographer. If you want to follow him. And he had stayed with us like 2 summers ago. And then he was coming to stay with you guys last summer. And he's like, oh my gosh, my friends are moving in right in front of you. And I'd heard of your husband before because he's on the Catholic Instagram world. And I was like, this is so fun. Like,
so crazy.
What are the odds that like 2 married couples that are like in the Catholic content creation world, focused missionary world, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also both on like very, just like fertility journeys right now, like at the same time. It's just really crazy that the Lord brought us together.
It is crazy. Yeah. So we moved in across the street. I feel like a few months into that, Mari's like, I'm going to start this Bible study.
Yes.
Please come. And I was like, of course I'll be there. So Mari and I have kind of gotten to know each other over the past year. And it's just been super beautiful. Like Mari said, like sharing some of our struggles with fertility and being able to like walk with that. Walk with each other through that.
Yeah. It's been an amazing support.
Yeah.
Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your fertility journey? Just like, how long have you guys been trying and what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So Tanner and I had been married for almost 3 years, which is so crazy. 3 years in July. And yeah, we've been like very open to life since the day we got married. I know Mari shared similar things, but like always expected that we would just like get pregnant right away because that's what marriage in the Catholic world just seems like it happens that way. And yeah, we like struggled a little bit for like the first 6 months, but a lot of people told us like it takes time. So we weren't super worried about it. And then in the time of being married almost 3 years, we've just had lots of surgeries, lots of doctor's appointments. We've unfortunately had 2 pregnancy losses in the 3 years that we've been married. And yeah, just like our eyes have been opened a lot to like what fertility actually looks like.
Yeah.
So we're super passionate about talking about it as well because I think it needs to be talked about more.
Yeah. And you recently started an Instagram, didn't you, Alli? Share about it.
I don't know what to say about it. I've like been so MIA on Instagram. I feel like since
Lent. Well, because you also took it off for Lent, so like don't expect it to be like a super like popping account right now. But
it has very
potential to be. Just tell us like what is the handle? Why did you start it?
Yeah. Okay. So it's called Blessed to Hope, and it kind of came out of like the fruit of losing our second baby,
Mhm.
we just felt super convicted about just like what even is hope. And then like expanding kind of the conversation around fertility, especially in the Catholic world, even in the Christian world, is just something that's not talked about enough. And so we're hoping to kind of like go to places that people don't really want to go when it comes to talking about fertility.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I brought you here
Yeah,
today.
here we go.
Okay, to start off this conversation, why don't we just chat a little bit about in our experience, what has been maybe one of the hardest things that we've had to kind of face or grapple with throughout this journey?
Yeah.
I think there's obviously a lot of difficulties with this journey and a lot of different ways that it can be difficult on different women.
Yeah.
But for you and for me personally, maybe what have been like one of the hardest things that you've had to kind of just grapple with throughout this journey?
I feel like for us, just like being kind of like let down
Yeah.
like constantly, you know, and like having this expectation that it's gonna like happen right away was like really defeating when it didn't happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like overall, just struggling with fertility in general, just like this constant waiting for something
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of feeling like you have to be like, yeah, just like only focus on the next 9 months. So it's like
Yeah.
a really hard thing to do when you're married, and especially if you're struggling with fertility.
Mm-hmm.
So I think waiting. And then with like pregnancy loss, just like really wrestling with the Lord in that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I feel like there's like few things in this life that will like shake you to the core, like losing a child, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's like the child's like been with you like on the side of heaven for a while, or like, yeah, you've been pregnant for a little, then you lose a child, like
Yeah.
it just really shakes your faith. So I think both of those things, waiting, being in a season of waiting for like an like infinite amount of time, like you don't know when the deadline's going to be. And then just struggling with like your relationship with the Lord amidst loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think both of those are really tough. And I definitely relate to that second one you're talking about. We have been struggling for a little over 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest part for me is just that question of like, will this ever happen?
Yeah.
And it's just the unknown.
Totally.
And I think that at first in the journey, it was a little bit easier to be like, kind of what you're saying, like, oh, it's only been 6 months. Like some
Right.
people, it takes them a little bit
Yeah.
longer. And we saw for the first doctor, and the first doctor was a little dismissive and like, oh, you're fine. Just come back in 6 months. Like, I'm sure you'll be pregnant. And then you have a year go by and you're like, okay, like, does it really take that much
Right.
longer? But then, you find maybe another answer here. And the months just start to add up. And I think the more they add up, the more you just are left to wonder, like, is this even in the cards for me? Like, does the Lord even actually have this planned in his, just grand plan of life? And just wrestling with like, I know that these desires are good and that the Lord like has placed these desires on my heart. And so it's like part of me like needs to trust in that. And like the Lord placed this desire of motherhood on my heart, and he gave me the vocation that like supposedly leads to motherhood. But really having to trust in his plan and his timing, and trusting that if he does want me to be a mother, beyond a spiritual mother to people in my life, when will that be? And yeah, just like that trust, that faith, that hope, and that waiting period, like trying to be as faithful as possible in that waiting period until that time comes around.
Yeah.
And then, yes, what you said too about like how much it like shakes your faith, and I think stretches your relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
The medical things, the procedures, all that is tough and it's hard. But for someone who, like, I love the Lord so much, and I think that there have been times where I have just been shocked at just like how my faith has been shaken.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me. It's hard for me to be okay with myself, like sitting in a chair and like questioning God and fighting with God and being
Right.
like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Like, don't I have enough faith? Don't I trust? Like, what happened? You know what I mean?
Totally.
But I think I've talked about this before. I know I talked about it in my Seek Talk or something, but one of my favorite quotes, I think I've told you this, is from St. Faustina's diary, where Jesus tells her that suffering is a great gift because in suffering, love is crystallized.
Ooh,
like
love
love is
that.
purified and it's
Yeah.
strengthened. And I
Yeah.
think of like a diamond, like crystallized like a diamond, where it's like diamonds are so strong, but they like go through this process of like growing and like, you know what I mean? And so in a way, it's like, wow, like my faith has gone through just the turmoil, dragged through the mud, cleaned off, hung up to dry, and then like highs and lows, but I trust in the depths of my heart, like a diamond is coming out of this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my faith.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that. I feel like that's like been one beautiful thing that's come out of all of this is like my hope has become so much more strong.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, Tanner and I have had so many conversations about this, but just like, yeah, what was my hope actually in? And like, it's made me like realize like my hope has to be in eternity with God. Like that's what it has to be rooted in because everything else is so fleeting.
Mhm.
But it's right. I feel like people who carry this cross, like, yeah, it really does like strengthen your relationship with the Lord and shake things up.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I think through this whole journey, though, I have had friends and family who have expressed, like, obviously, their just like that their heart goes out to me, and that they want to learn how to love me through this process.
No.
And I do think it is. I don't know. It's just a particularly interesting situation,
Yeah.
especially in the season of life that we're in, where we're married and everybody around us is having kids.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly exposed to families, pregnancy announcements, baby showers, baptisms,
All the things.
all the things.
Yeah.
And I think, those friends and family that like really know you, really love you, like they're aware of that, and they want to learn how to just like love you and support you. So I think in general, what does a truly like supportive friendship look like through this process?
Yeah. I feel like sometimes like it can be easy like as a friend supporting someone walking through this to feel like you have to like do all the right things. Like, you don't want to say the wrong thing. And like it can almost like stifle your friendship in a sense.
Yeah.
And so like not being like overly aware of it, I think is a good thing. But also being like, aware enough of the situation where you can like check in and ask questions about it.
Yeah.
I think like one thing that I'm sure you've experienced this too is just like feeling very lonely in all of this. Like Mari said, like you're surrounded by people who are having babies, there's baby showers, there's pregnancy announcements, there's everything. So like if you're a friend walking with someone who's struggling with this, just like checking in with them to be like, how are you really doing? Like either like what's an update for you if you want to share one.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's been a huge gift for you guys and us to like have you guys across the street is like, like what's going on with you guys? Like what's an update, and being able to like share that really freely. But yeah, if you have a friend, just like checking in on them and seeing how they're doing.
Yeah. And I liked what you said too about, I can't remember quite how you worded it, but like being aware of the sensitivity of the subject and checking in, but almost not overdoing it.
Yeah.
And I think obviously it always comes from a very good intention and a very good place.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there have been times in relationships where you almost feel like there is a shift or there is a stifling when somebody is so overly worried about what they're going to say or what they're going to do, especially if they have children. I think that it's been difficult sometimes because people feel like, well, maybe I can't like share pictures of my kids or like tell you about how they're doing because I don't want to make you feel bad. Which again, I know is coming from a great place, but also like as a friend, I genuinely want to know about your life. And like your life is motherhood right now, so like I do want to hear about it. So I think there is like need to check in, but also like don't make that every conversation. Every conversation or every catch up you have with a friend. I think it's important to say that where it's like check in, but not every time you call or every time you hang out, because then it just makes it all about that.
Yeah, totally.
And while it's like good to have a friend that you feel like you can confide in, even if you can confide in someone, it's like you don't want to talk about it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And like just like another note too is that like I think you kind of were getting there with this is like we don't want to feel left out. You know what I mean? Like just because like we both carry like this cross and it's really hard doesn't mean like we don't want to be a part of your life still if you have children. Like we obviously both really love children, right?
Yes.
We wouldn't be talking about this if you didn't.
Like invite me to the park if you're going to the park with your mom friends. Like
totally.
I'd be happy to go.
Show us the pictures of your baby's first birthday party. You know what I mean? Like we want to be a part of that. So like not feeling left out. And then something that I've been really like kind of wrestling with over the last couple of years is there's like a balance between like I don't want to feel pitied, And so like if you're my friend, like your presence like matters more than your pity to me. And so like what Mari's saying is like checking in, but like we like know this is a cross, but like everyone also suffers. So like we all have suffering. And we don't need to be like pitied for our suffering.
Yeah,
You know,
for
I
sure.
think that's something that I've been like wrestling with a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some things that you feel like are helpful to say to a friend? And what are some things that you feel like maybe have been said to you in the past that maybe like the person was trying to be helpful, but it just didn't land quite right?
Yeah.
Some things that maybe weren't as helpful that you're like, maybe don't say that to somebody.
Oh, it's so hard because I feel like most people come from such a good place.
I know.
But I do think at the same time, when we like live in a Catholic culture right now where we're kind of like combating a lot of like what our worldly culture says about like pregnancy and like being a mom and all these things that we kind of sway to the way other end. And so like it's almost like when someone is going through this, like you would never assume that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of things. But I think something that I have a really good friend. She was actually a student when I was a focus missionary and has become like one of my great friends. She is just like such a good listener. And like after our second loss, she came over and she basically just sat down and I told her about it. And she goes, I want like you to share as much as you want or as little as you want. And like whenever you're ready to stop, like you can stop.
Yeah.
And like that was so freeing.
So
just
freeing.
to be like, she's not gonna like dig to ask more questions if I don't want to like share more.
Yeah.
But she's like willing to hear everything that I want to share.
Like she's willing to hear it all out. Like even if it's like an hour of you like decompressing everything you're feeling, like she wants to be there for that.
And even if I were to share a little bit, she'd be like, that's what you needed to share.
Yeah.
You know? So I think like asking questions that like are maybe like a little more open-ended. And not asking questions that are like very specific
to your journey.
Yes. Yeah. Because most likely if someone's your good friend, they will share that if they want to share that.
They're gonna like most likely they'll open up and be like, hey, here's what we're doing next.
Exactly.
Like prayers. Like asking for prayers for that.
Like I think like the default should be to be like more open-ended than to get like, niche questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some things that have been said that haven't been as helpful that I can think of. When you compare, and this can go for anybody's suffering, I guess, like when you compare your suffering to something else that like might be worse. And so when people are like, I know this is really hard, like we should be grateful at least you don't have cancer.
Right.
Or like, there's so many things to be grateful for. Like at least you XYZ, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's been hard for me to receive in the past because I'm like, I totally like am so grateful for my health in general, for all the blessings, but it almost feels like it's diminishing the cross in that moment of just like, you don't have to be as sad as you think you do because at least you don't have something else.
Right.
Have you ever had people say that to you?
Yeah. I feel like anything that's like super dismissive of what you're going through.
Dismissive is a good word.
Is so hurtful, know? And especially like if you're willing to like open up to somebody about like suffering that you're experiencing and then someone dismisses it, it's like, oh.
Yeah, that you really just kind of instantly regret saying anything.
Yeah, totally. You're like, I should have just never said anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like when you're walking like the cross of like infertility, like there's so many things that you could say that would probably be hurtful to someone. Like, like maybe you're just not ready yet. I've heard that a lot.
Yes.
And that one just like cuts you to the core.
Yeah.
You're like, what does that mean?
Maybe God's waiting for like you to learn something
new. It's not God's time, Yeah, things like that. And like you said, that you could really apply this like probably a lot of different suffering.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are big ones.
Or you could always adopt. Like, that's a big one too that I think is very common. Again, comes from such a good place. I think it's hard for people going through infertility to hear that sometimes because it's so much deeper. Adoption is so much deeper than I think what a lot of people see on the surface.
Totally.
And it's a process and it's not an easy Band-Aid like cover up. Like, first of all, not every family is going to be called to adopt.
Right.
And even if you do, it doesn't replace that deep longing and ache for a biological child.
Right,
so it doesn't just like replace that and make everything better.
Yeah.
Which I think is not commonly understood.
Yeah. Also, I feel like in our culture, like just this like desire to like have things immediately and like fix problems immediately is just like not a good one. Like sometimes it's okay that we like
that's true
and see. Yeah. Just like you said, adoption's like a discernment and it's not like a solution to your ache for like biological children.
Yeah.
You know, while it's a good discernment and I think we should all discern that.
Yeah.
It's not just like a quick fix to your longings.
I think on the other hand, some things that people have said that have been helpful and encouraging to me. I think people definitely struggle with what to say.
Oh,
And
for
I think
sure.
people feel at a loss for words a lot of the time,
Yeah.
which I think is totally, like, fine. Like,
Yeah.
in all reality, nothing anybody says is going to, like, make the pain go away,
Right.
right? Or fix the problem.
Yeah.
But it can be comforting to just to say something with love, something with just, like, yeah, just a good intention. For example, like, for me, even though it's a very much a cliche, I love when people say, like, "I know God has such a good plan for you."
Mhm.
Like, just to be
Yeah.
reassured of that, because that's a
Yeah.
truth that, like, that is just fundamental truth,
Right.
but it can be hard. Like, you can be easily shaken in that, in
Yeah.
this journey. You can easily be like, "What is God's plan? Did he, abandon me? Like, did
Yep.
he just forget that I'm out here, like, praying for motherhood?"
Yeah.
But when somebody comes and just reminds me, like,
Yeah.
"I know God has an amazing plan for you and your family,"
Mhm.
whatever that looks like, that's always comforting for me.
Yeah, because I think that's, like, the truth that gets attacked a lot when you're struggling with this. You're
Mm,
like, like, all these things go through your head, like, God isn't good, like, he doesn't have a good plan for me, like, he's not listening to me, all these things. So I think, like,
mhm,
having someone, like, gently reassure you, like,
mhm.
even, like, when you're not, like, asking for it, right? Like, when you're not, like, expressing those concerns, but, like, someone coming up to you and being like, "God has a really good plan for you."
Yeah.
Like, you're right, it is really reassuring. I think also, like, it just depends on, like, the cross you're carrying with this, because like, when it comes to pregnancy loss, like, there's a whole other plethora of things that people can say
Yeah.
that could be really hurtful too.
Yeah.
Um, do you want me to
Like
share some?
what? Yeah, share. The people need to know.
Yeah. I mean, this is, like, one that I will just always share because I think it's a really important one, and
Yeah.
I don't ever hear anyone else say this, but one of the, like, most piercing questions I've gotten from very intentioned people is, "How far along were you?"
Mm.
Like, I immediately, like, it's like I share, like, "I had a miscarriage," and they're like, "Oh, well, how far along were you?" And it's almost like
Mm.
as if that would be, like, important knowledge to know,
Yeah, that's so true.
and, like, it would change the way that they, like, approach the situation
Right, like it would
somehow
change the weight of
of
how
how
hard it
was for
was.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like I said, very well-intentioned question, I think, because like,
totally.
when someone's pregnant, that's a question you ask a lot. But, like, man, it cuts deep because it makes you feel like, "Oh,
Mm.
man, am I, like, making this a bigger deal than it really is?" But, like, we know, like, as Catholics that, like, any life is, like, of great importance and
Right, it's
dignity
a
and all
life,
these things.
it's your
Yeah.
child.
So I think, like, avoid that question.
Yeah.
If someone wants to share that with you, they absolutely will. So that's a hard one. I think also similar to, like, just infertility in general, but, like, even just saying, like, "Oh, maybe it's, like, in God's timing or plan."
Mm.
And it's like, oh, to say that to someone who just, like, lost a baby, like, that's not actually God's
Right.
plan, for a
Yeah.
baby to die.
Right, and that's so hard to grapple with
It
too, of
is.
just, like, now you've opened up a can of worms of, like, now I have to wonder why would that have been God's plan,
Right,
you know?
exactly. And,
Yeah,
like, yeah, that gets into the whole thing about suffering and, like, why bad
yes,
things happen, things like
which we
that.
all struggle with.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's, like, also, like,
Yeah.
a good thing to maybe kind of, like, avoid or just tread gently with.
What about, well, at least you can get pregnant. At least you know you can get
Yes,
pregnant.
yes, we've actually had people say that to us, and that's, like,
Yeah,
so hard,
I
right?
bet that's hard.
I even, like, had a family member, like, we were walking through our house, and I just, like, probably shouldn't have said this, but in the moment, I was like, "Oh, like, this would have been our baby's forever,"
Oh,
and that person was like, "Well, the next one," and I'm like, "No, but, like, we wanted this one."
yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's easy to, like, I don't wanna get too in the weeds because I don't want people to
Sure.
feel like they can't say
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah. But these
But
are, like, some big ones that I feel like
yeah,
are just good to be aware of.
yeah, just to be aware of.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think, like, yeah, you gotta, like, balance it with, you know, I think also receiving things from people, like, with a grain of salt.
absolutely.
Yeah, we can get into that later, I'm sure, but
Yeah. I think, one other thing too that has been very healing for me to
mm,
hear, so on the flip side, something
yeah,
that's been helpful to
yeah,
hear is I've had a few people say this, the first time I ever heard it was actually the doctor that I'm working with now, like, the first time I, like, kinda, like, told her everything the day that I met her and
yeah,
everything we had gone through, and she put her hand on my shoulder, which first of all, I feel like is just not very common for
yeah,
doctors to
right.
do, right? And it was just so reassuring. She put her hand on my shoulder and she looked at me and she goes, "Mara, you are already being such a good mother to your children."
That's so
Like, I
good.
know, it makes me tear up every time.
Yeah.
Because she was like, "Everything you're doing right now,
Mm,
all of this, like, research and lifestyle changes and
yeah,
medical work and
right.
everything you're doing to, like, heal your body and
Mm,
find the root cause and, like, prepare yourself to be the best, like, to, like,
Vessel.
vessel
Yeah.
for this life, like,
Yeah.
all of that and all your suffering, like, that is being a good mother. Like,
So
that is
good.
your motherly heart coming
Yeah.
out, wanting to care for your children even now before they come into the world. And I mean, immediately when she said that to me, I'm just, like, bawling because, like, I just felt so seen in that moment
Really.
to have somebody acknowledge, like, "You do have a maternal heart," you
Mm.
know? Because
Yeah.
I think right now, in the midst of so many people having children and becoming moms,
Right.
it can be hard to, like, to be in a room of mothers and be like, "Wow, like, they're all mothers," and, like and I'm not, you
Mari,
know?
you're like one of the most maternal people I know. You really are. You do have a maternal
Aw,
heart. It's
thank
very
you.
apparent.
Thank
But
you.
you're so right. It
Yeah.
is easy to
Just to
feel
be
like that.
like
Yeah.
just to be reassured in that for somebody who desires motherhood so
Yes.
much or for someone
Yeah.
who like, you are a mother, you have
Right.
children in heaven, and to be reassured of just, like, of that motherly heart that you do
Yeah.
have, I feel
Mhm.
like is very comforting.
Yeah, and just to have your friends, like, see the sacrifices you're making now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I feel like it's very easy to, like, see the sacrifices of a mother who has, like, 3 toddlers, right? But,
Mhm.
like, to see it, like, your doctor just acknowledging the sacrifices you're making now for your
Yes.
future family
Yeah.
is so affirming. It's so affirming.
Totally.
So that's so beautiful.
Okay, shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about announcing a pregnancy.
Mhm.
I feel like this news can be hard to receive
Yeah.
when you're going through infertility or have experienced loss, but it's inevitable, right? There's like
Yeah.
life growing all around
Yeah.
us, and there's part of us that genuinely like is happy for those people and wants to celebrate, but then also part of us that has like needs space to mourn as well.
Mhm.
So, what do you feel like in your experience has been a good way for a friend to share the news of a pregnancy?
Yeah. I feel like this is such a hard one because people receive things so differently.
Yeah.
Um
It might be situational too.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, I've always really appreciated when a friend, like, doesn't, like, shy away from telling me,
Yeah.
because I never wanna feel like, someone can't tell me because of, like, the suffering we're going through. That's, like, almost more painful than someone just telling me and me having to, like, grapple with my own sorrow in that.
'Cause I
Um
feel like it just accentuates how you're different than
Yes.
everybody else.
Yeah.
When people treat you so much differently,
Right.
in some situations, it can be hard to be like, "Oh, this is awkward," because like, you had to really feel bad for me and think
Right.
about, "How am I gonna tell this
Yes.
person?"
Yeah, and, like, the reality of, like, living a Catholic life is that, like, you should be able and, like, we're all, like, broken, so it's not always easy, but you should be able to hold, like, the joys and sorrows, like, in tandem.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the Lord did.
Yeah.
That's what Mary did. And, like, I think that's something that I, like, have really had to grow in is being like, I can be really happy for someone and
Mhm.
simultaneously really sad for, like, my situation.
Right.
And those 2 things don't, like, need to take precedent over each other. Like, they can both exist together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has there been a specific way that you feel like that has, like, landed well for you?
Yeah. I had one really close friend, and she just has such, like, a tender heart.
Yeah.
And she, like, texted me and told me that they were pregnant with their, like, 4th child.
Mhm.
And I remember being, like, a little bit bummed that she texted me about it.
Mhm.
But, like, from her perspective, she was like, "I didn't wanna just, like, blindside you on the phone
Yeah.
by telling me that."
Yeah.
And I, like, really appreciated that.
Yeah.
But so I feel like texting someone and just being like, "Hey, like, I wanna let you know I don't want you to feel left out. Like, this
Mhm.
is, like, we're
Mhm.
pregnant again."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, giving you space to, like, kind of, like, process that. Um, I personally feel like just, like, tell me over the phone. Would rather just, like, revel in the joy of you being pregnant than you,
Yeah.
like, assume that I'm gonna be sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where too, like, knowing your friend
Yeah.
well
Totally.
is gonna come into play here because if you know maybe where they're at in this phase of their journey
Right.
is a really dark time,
Yes.
they might receive it differently
Yep.
than if they're doing really well and if they're in a place of a lot of hope and joy
Yeah.
and just like grace in their
Yeah.
waiting. So I think it's hard because it's like we can't give you a cookie cutter
Right.
way that's like gonna
Mhm.
work every time. And I just think back to my experience of friends and family sharing the news with me, and it's landed differently at different
Yeah,
times, you
it's so
know?
true.
Like,
Yeah.
there's been times where people share with me one-on-one, and it feels exciting to know in
Mhm.
person when I saw them, like, at a coffee date, or there's
Right.
been times where we've been shared with one-on-one instead of the group, and it's kinda felt like, "Oh, did they not feel like they could share with us in front of the
Yeah.
group because of what we're going," you know? So, I
Right.
do think it kind of depends. I think overall, if you if you feel really like nervous about sharing with a friend, I think writing a text or writing a letter is really nice. And I had a friend recently who wrote me a letter. And she brought it to me and like dropped it off at my door with some flowers. And just was like thanking me for our friendship and saying that she was praying for me in our journey and that she wanted to share the news that they were expecting their first. And that she knew that it could be hard to hear this news and that she wanted me to give me the space to process and feel whatever emotions that I felt like genuinely in that moment. And that she'd love, to get coffee to talk about it sometime soon, like just like catch up. And that made me feel really loved because I'm like, wow, like you thought intentionally enough to think of how I would receive it. But it was a little bit more personal than a text. It was like, I'm going to write you a letter, bring you some flowers, tell you I'm praying for you, and share the news. So I feel like when in doubt, like that is a super intentional, thoughtful, like safe way to do it. But yeah, I think like knowing the friend and your relationship too is going to be key here.
Definitely. And I think like when you asked that question, Mari, like it made me also think about just like how we, like as people who are struggling with this cross, can also like receive people better.
Yes.
Because I just heard like, whenever you like open up about this, I feel like you hear like everyone's stories about it. So like I had a friend who she's pregnant and she was sharing with one of her good friends that they were pregnant again. And her friend had experienced like multiple losses in a year. And her friend received it really poorly. And she like shared it in person. And she was like, I just didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. I shouldn't have done that, all these things. And as hard as it is, like I feel like people in our shoes like also need to like actually learn how to receive people's good news. Like amidst our suffering.
Absolutely.
And because like like I said, it like our suffering shouldn't diminish the joy of someone else. Like I mean, if like one of us was pregnant, like how stoked would we be for each other? Exactly. So like just realizing that like those two things can exist simultaneously. So like if someone does share with you that they're pregnant or whatever, that you can like receive them with joy and not be afraid to like bring your suffering to the Lord after that. I think it's really important.
Yeah. And I think that is such a good point too. Like it's very like paradoxical and maybe not everybody feels this way, but it seems like you do and I do as well. We're like, there is a genuine like excitement that we hold for our friends and family who are becoming mothers.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And like we are like, it's hard, but like we're able to hold both. And it's not like I'm forcing myself to be happy for this person. Like I genuinely am. And it's so exciting to see my best friends and my sister-in-laws and my friends like become mothers.
Absolutely.
And so I think also like there's been times where people expect it to be so hard that they almost make
shy away
from it a little bit, where it's like, no, like I want to share that joy with you as well.
Oh, totally.
But like there may be times where I need to take, my space as well to like process, but you can hold both.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Okay. Next question I have here. What is something that a friend did for you that made you feel deeply seen in your suffering?
It's a really hard question. I feel like I'm going to answer this like in like specifically with pregnancy loss.
Yeah, totally. Go for it.
So I think for me, something that's made me feel deeply seen like amidst my suffering is I have one friend who she's like asked us the name, like if we named our babies that we lost and we have named them. And so she'll like often like just reach out to us and be like, hey, like I'm just thinking of you guys and like, asked your baby to intercede for us today, which is super beautiful. She also like knows the days that they were supposed to be born. And so she'll like even like say something on that day, which like makes us feel very seen. Cause that can be just like something that's like very isolating when that like day comes and like no one knows about it.
Yeah, totally.
So I think those two things have made me feel like really loved, really seen.
That is so beautiful. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I think for me, is the past 2 years, there's been different friends that have just sent me a little something on Mother's Day.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's been very unexpected both times. And I think Mother's Day, there's been mixed emotions on it. And we can kind of like tie this into this part of the conversation as well if you have any thoughts on it. Whereas like, it's like the days leading up, I'm like almost like kind of dreading it to come because I'm like, oh man, I just like hope this day is not going to be like so sad and just like just a bummer all day. Like I genuinely want to celebrate my mom too, but then it's also like I hold sadness for myself as well.
Totally.
And it's just like little things that have unexpectedly come to like brighten that day that has
Yeah.
made it feel just like a little bit lighter. And so like a couple years ago, a friend sent me a card with a beautiful prayer card with the the memorare on it. The memorare. And wait, no, was it the Magnificat? Maybe it was a
I feel like the
Magnificat.
Magnificat makes more sense.
Yes,
But yeah.
I think it was, you're right. It was a Magnificat. And she just like sent me like, again, like a handwritten letter, really beautiful with a little prayer card, to kind of lift my spirits. And then this past year, this little bouquet here on the table, our neighbor, Kim, I just like opened the door to like go, we went to the zoo on Mother's Day, and I opened the door and there was a card with this beautiful little bouquet.
That is so sweet. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I was just like, what? Like, it just like, it literally put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And made me feel so seen. And, you know, it's not to take away the joy or importance of Mother's Day for other people. You
Right.
know, like I'm not on the train where like, you know, you get like so many emails in your inbox this year of just like, if this day is hard for you, we understand. Have you gotten those like emails?
No.
Oh, like marketing emails. You haven't?
Really?
Oh yeah. Brands will like send out an email now, like a couple days in advance of like, if you don't want to see Mother's Day emails or Mother's Day content, like
hating
opt
on Mother's
out.
Day a little bit.
Yeah, or just basically just like the culture today, I feel like is so like you need to have so many disclaimers
Yeah.
of like we're celebrating mothers, but also
Like a
like
trigger
if you,
warning.
yes, like it's like a trigger warning.
Okay.
Like I'm not on that train where
Right.
it's like you can't like be
Right.
joyful on this day or like celebrate
Yeah.
moms, but it makes you feel really seen when somebody acknowledges like, hey, this might be kind of a hard day for you because you've been trying to be a mom for like 3 years. You have this desire to be a mom, and it's just a reminder on this day that like you're not yet.
Yeah.
For somebody who hasn't, you know,
Absolutely.
been pregnant before. So that was just like a sweet little surprise on my doorstep that I think was so sweet. Oh
No,
my
I feel
gosh.
like that's super intentional.
And literally this was the sweetest thing. On Mother's Day this year at 10 p.m., okay, we're in bed about to go to bed, and then Bodhi, our dog, barks like protectively from downstairs, and I'm like, someone must be like at the door or something. Like he only does that when there's like a car pulling up or at the door. So Trey goes down there to check it out, and there's an Instacart lady. And he texted me before opening the door. He goes, "Did you order food?" And I was like, "No." And
At
he's
10
like,
o'clock?
"Yeah, at 10 o'clock." And he's like, "Okay, I'm going to check it out." He opens the door and there's a lady holding a bouquet of flowers. And he was like, "Hi." And she goes, "From Julie and Sam." And he was like, "What?" And my siblings' names are Huli and Sam.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And she goes, "That's all I know." She hands him the bouquet, and he comes upstairs, and I text my siblings, and they literally sent me a bouquet of flowers that night.
I would cry.
I did cry with a little text saying, as the eldest daughter, like you basically were our second mom and also raised us, like wanted to brighten your day today. And I was like, gosh,
that is the sweetest thing in the world.
It literally made me cry because my sister's 21 and my brother's 16.
Yeah.
And this little gesture just showed like they're getting older and maturing. And I'm like, you can't be doing that right now. But thank you. Yeah. So little things like that.
I love that so much. Yeah. I feel like Mother's Day has brought a lot of mixed emotions for me.
Yeah. How's that been for you?
Yeah. I think like, our first year of marriage, like we had already experienced one loss. And then this year, like experiencing 2 losses now. And like, you know, like you said, like I am a mother. It feels very different than like a mom who has like 3 children or
in
5
flesh.
children,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so like I think my biggest thing on Mother's Day that I just like dread is when they make all the moms stand up at mass and want to pray for them.
Yep.
And I literally had it in my head. I was like, I need to tell Tanner ahead of time that I'm not standing up. And don't try to make me stand up. Because, like, you know, it comes from a good place for him. He's like, you're a mom. Like, I want you to be able to, like, be, like, you know, seen. And I'm like, I don't want to be seen right now. And, like, that might be different for different people. But for me, I'm like, yeah, like, it just, like, begs a lot of questions from people. And, like, being a parish missionary in a new place, like, I don't need every single person asking me if I'm pregnant after mass, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or just like even like being like, oh, like, are you a mom? Like, you know, like all the questions that would come with that. So
totally
for me, like that's something that's really hard for me. But also similar to you, I can't believe how many people like unexpectedly reached out to me on Sunday. Like I was just like so blown away. Like just
you don't expect that.
No. Old students, like friends from where I used to live before this. And And like, it's just like, even just that little gesture, just being like, hey, I see you today. And like, probably like, you're not going to get that from a lot of other people, but like, I see you.
Yeah.
Like some friends even were like, I don't really feel like it's right to be like, happy Mother's Day to you, but like, know that I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like really moved by that.
Yeah.
You know, this is so crazy, but there's one person at our parish I literally met one time. She emailed me after Mass and was like, I saw you at Mass and I wanted you to know, because like she's heard my story a little bit. She's like, I wanted you to know that I'm praying for you today, and I know it's probably a hard day for you.
Wow.
The fact that you went out of your way to email me. I know. And she like probably has no idea how like much that meant to me.
Yeah. That's
so like
sweet.
That's huge. I also like on Mother's Day, like if you have friends, like if we have friends that are also struggling through this, like Mari texted me in the morning, and it's so funny because like I've been thinking about her and Trey all morning too. But I always text to like my campus minister who's been like struggling with infertility for like their entire marriage, and they've been married for a very long time. I always reach out to her on Mother's Day, and I'm like, hey, like you are a mom to me. And like I know how much like you spiritually mother like everyone in your life, and like this day's for you too. And so like just like trying to recognize other people in their like longing for motherhood is so beautiful. So it's a hard day, but it's also a good day.
I think those little acknowledgments like that, like you reaching out to her and being like, you're a mom to me, is different than, you know, someone saying to you like happy Mother's Day, and you kind of having to kind of wrestle with like, am I a mom, am I not? I think for me, I had a little moment like that. We went to the zoo for Mother's Day with our family. And I honestly had a great Mother's Day this year. I think like I love going to the zoo. It makes me happy. So I'm actually so glad we did that instead of me sitting at home just like moping by myself. So I had a great time. And my little niece, she's 2, and my sister-in-law was trying to teach her. She's like, you know, Mari's your godmother, and she's like, you can say like happy Mother's Day to your godmother. That's, you know, so she's your spiritual mom. And that's just something I didn't think about. You know, I was like, oh, that's sweet. And she like brought me a little souvenir because she was traveling abroad, and she like brought me a little well, not abroad. That sounded like she was in Europe. She was in Canada.
She's in Europe.
She was in
traveling Europe.
It's just not that far, but
2-year-old.
She was in Canada. And she brought me a little thing, and she was like, it's just like a godmother gift. And I was like, that's just so intentional. Like, that's just so sweet.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. There's definitely ways you can like make people feel seen on Mother's Day, especially when they're like longing for it.
I think one thing you said earlier too that I kind of want to come back to and then add on to is a lot of the times people, they want to say something, they just don't know what to say. And sometimes the fear of saying something wrong stops people from saying anything at all. And I kind of just want to ask and kind of go into another conversation about like how just even being present with that person can be enough sometimes. And just like trying to offer consolation and love over trying to figure out like what would be the best thing to make them feel better, like to solve their problem or to specifically speak into what they shared. Like sometimes even just sharing like a generic like words of affirmation or words of love or words of encouragement, like even if it is generic and you feel like, oh, that was so stupid, I shouldn't have said anything at all, like that goes more, I think, sometimes than just not saying anything at all.
Oh, for sure.
And then just like being present with the person in their struggle and not always having to figure out like, how am I going to respond to what they share with me, and what do I say every time they say something can go a long way. So what do you feel like it looks like to just be present to a friend on this journey?
Yeah, I think like I said this at the beginning, like one of the hardest things is feeling like alone and feeling isolated. And so when like your close friends, your family, like are like not saying something out of fear of like hurting your feelings or not saying the right thing, that like makes you feel more isolated. It makes you feel more lonely. So I think like just like what Mara's saying, like just saying something. Like I've had a couple of friends and family members who've just been like, I don't feel like there's anything I can say right now that would make this better because it's so sad. You know, and even them just saying that like affirms how I feel, you know? So even just being like, there's nothing I could say to make this better for you. And I'm really sorry about that. Like that, like is affirming, you know, you're like, okay, totally. I feel seen in this like struggle that I'm feeling. But also just like not being afraid of saying the wrong thing. Cause like to someone you love, right? Like most people will be able to be like, hey, that like actually kind of hurt my feelings when you said that, you know? Had many a conversation with my little sister being like, hey, actually, like when you say that, this is how it makes me feel. And then she was like, oh my gosh. Like, I didn't even think that would make you feel that way. And then I think that just like being present with somebody in their suffering, like can mean like a lot to them.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I know I have a lot of friends who like immediately will be like, oh, well, have you tried this or this or this or this? Or my friend did this. You should try this.
Yeah.
When sometimes we just like want to be like listened to. And like we don't need like all the solutions right now.
Sometimes the solutions can be overwhelming. And I think I love that you brought that up because that's what I was gonna say too about like being present with them and where they're at in their journey. And sometimes that's more helpful than trying to be the one to help to like look ahead.
Right.
Because and again, it probably comes from a very well-meaning place. And I think I experience this a lot on social media too. I think part of the reason why I don't share as much as I feel like some people want me to, because there are other women going through this. And as much as I want to like uplift and encourage them, the hard part is whenever I do share, I get a slew of DMs of people being like, oh, like my friend did this and this and this and this and this. And have you tried this? And it's hard to hear sometimes because one, the person you're talking to may have tried all those things. And so it's almost like pointing out like, oh, look at all the things that you could do.
And didn't work.
And it didn't work for them. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that knowing somebody's, without knowing somebody's like journey and them like inviting you into that in that conversation, I feel like being present looks like listening to them where they're at and encouraging them where they're at in their journey.
Right.
And not really like pushing towards the future again, like, oh, like adoption or all these other medical things that you could do, or this helped so-and-so.
Yeah.
Because you never know everybody's different and you never know what's going to be the thing that, helps you necessarily. The other thing too that I thought of is if you have a friend that has opened up to you about like what their journey actually looks like, their medical history and procedures and testing and all that kind of stuff, treatments that they're doing, if they've opened up to you about that, like being present with them in that journey and offering prayers, like if like, oh, they have a surgery date on this day, like offering prayers of like, hey, I'm praying for you today, like let me know if you need anything after, or offering to bring a meal even like after they have a procedure done or something like that could be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And like checking in on them if they are sharing those things with you, I think is like a really makes you feel seen by them. We had a friend, our other neighbor actually like brought us a meal recently after we had a surgery. And like, that just like, it might not seem like that big of a deal, but like it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Someone does that for you.
Yeah. So. Oh, Alli, thanks for sharing everything today in your heart. Is there anything else that you like feel like is on your heart that you want to leave our listeners with? Any sort of encouragement or anything else that you feel like we didn't get to talk about today?
Yeah, I feel like just overall, like I know it's like I'm really passionate about this. Mari's really passionate about this. It's just like that people don't feel alone.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Catholic. Like, I think sometimes we almost feel like a little bit of shame that we're like not in the season of life that we hope to be in. And just like to not forget that there's like other women who are like in the thick of it too. And just to like not lose hope either. Like that's one of the biggest things that, I wrestle with every single day. But to not lose hope and to like know that there's other people out there who are experiencing what you're experiencing also.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so good.
Let's just end in a prayer for all those who are going through fertility problems, pregnancy loss, and just on their journey to build their families.
I love that.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Mother Mary, we ask for your intercession for Alli and I and our journeys, as well as all those that are listening and the people that they have in their lives that are going through infertility and pregnancy loss, that you would just cover them in your mantle, protect them and intercede for them, and give them the gift of motherhood if it's the Lord's will. We pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you so much for listening in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and on social media. And give me a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. That helps me and the show out so much. Also, make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at EverBePodcast. And if you want more content like this and you don't already follow me, you can also follow me on Instagram at mari.c.wagner. And may his praise ever be on our lips. God bless.